What's up, Blue Jays fans? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now because we're bringing you daily updates on everything happening with your Toronto Blue Jays. And trust me, you don't want to miss a single move this offseason. All right, let's jump right into it because there's some big news that just dropped and it directly impacts what Toronto does next. The New York Mets just signed Devin Williams to a 3-year, $51 million deal. That's the same Devin Williams who spent last season with the Yankees after being traded from the Brewers, and honestly, it didn't go great for him in pinstripes. He struggled early, had some inconsistency issues, and never really looked like the dominant closer we'd seen in Milwaukee. But here's the thing. Before last season, Williams was one of the absolute best closers in baseball. His changeup is filthy, his numbers were elite, and he was a legitimate shutdown arm. The Mets are betting that last year was just a rough adjustment period and that he'll return to form on their side of New York. $51 million over 3 years works out to $17 million per season, which is right around the going rate for top-tier closers right now. And get this, the Mets aren't done. They're reportedly still fully committed to bringing back Edwin Diaz, their all-star closer who's been dominant when healthy. So they're potentially stacking 2 elite closers in the same bullpen, which is insane. Diaz is projected to get around $18 million annually, according to SpotRack. So if they actually pull that off, they're spending over $35 million a year just on 2 back-end relievers. That's wild, but it also shows how much the Mets are going all in right now. But here's what this means for the Blue Jays. Another elite closer just came off the board, and Toronto didn't get him. That's now Ryan Helsley, gone. Carlos Estevez, gone. Devin Williams, gone. The market is shrinking fast, and the pressure is building for Toronto to make a move before they're completely priced out or left with scraps. So where do they go from here? There are basically 2 big names still available. The obvious one is Edwin Diaz. If the Mets don't bring him back, he's the best closer on the market, and he'd immediately become the top target for multiple teams, including Toronto. But here's the reality. Diaz is going to be expensive. We're talking 18 to 20 million per year over multiple seasons, and that's a massive commitment for a relief pitcher. Can the Blue Jays afford that on top of everything they've already spent? Maybe, but it might not be the smartest business decision, especially when they still need to go get a big bat like Kyle Tucker or bring back Bo Bichette. The other name that keeps popping up is Pete Fairbanks. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I believe this might have been the plan all along. Fairbanks spent the last several years with the Tampa Bay Rays, and he's been one of the most reliable closers in the American League. Last season, he threw a career-high 60 innings with a 2.8 ERA and racked up 27 saves. The guy is durable, he's proven, and he's got the kind of high-leverage experience you want at the back end of your bullpen. Fairbanks is 32 years old, so he's in that sweet spot where he's not too young and unproven, but also not so old that you're worried about a steep decline. His projected annual value is around 13 to 14 million per year, which is way more reasonable than what Diaz is going to command. And here's the kicker. He's been great against the Blue Jays over the years, so they know firsthand how tough he is to hit. If you can't beat him, sign him, right? According to John Morosi, the Blue Jays, Marlins, and Tigers are all involved in Fairbanks' market, and there's talk that he could sign before the winter meetings even start. That's literally this weekend. So if Toronto is serious about landing him, they need to move fast. And I think they should. Fairbanks gives you everything you need without breaking the bank. He's reliable, he's got closing experience, and at 13 or 14 million a year, you're not overpaying. That's basically what they paid Jeff Hoffman last season, and Fairbanks is an upgrade in terms of pure closing ability. Now, I know some fans are going to say, why not just go all in on Edwin Diaz? And look, I get it. Diaz is the better pitcher when he's healthy. But here's the thing. The Blue Jays are trying to make smart business decisions right now. They're spending big money on starting pitching. They're about to drop a massive contract on either Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette. And they're already sitting at one of the top 3 payrolls in all of baseball. So when you're making those kinds of commitments, you have to be strategic about where the rest of your money goes. Signing Kyle Tucker or bringing back Bo Bichette sells jerseys. It moves the needle in terms of fan engagement, ticket sales, and overall brand visibility. That's why ownership is willing to go big on those guys. It's the same reason they were ready to overpay for Juan Soto and reportedly had a plane ready to fly Shohei Ohtani to Toronto. Those are the kinds of moves that generate buzz and bring in revenue. A closer like Edwin Diaz, as good as he is, doesn't have that same business impact. So if you're Rogers ownership, you're probably telling the front office to prioritize the lineup and be smart with the bullpen spending. And that's where Pete Fairbanks makes perfect sense. He gives you elite production at a reasonable price, and you can still go big on Tucker or Bichette without blowing past your budget. It's the kind of move that balances competitiveness with financial responsibility, and honestly, I think it's the right call. The other thing to keep in mind is that Toronto is still being mentioned in trade rumors for starting pitching even after signing Dylan Cease. That tells me they're not done adding arms, and they might be looking at the trade market to supplement the bullpen as well. Maybe they move Jose Barrios and get back a middle reliever. Maybe they package prospects for someone with team control. There are a lot of ways to build depth without spending huge money in free agency, and I think we'll see the Blue Jays explore all of those options. So here's the bottom line. The closer market is moving fast, and Toronto needs to act. Pete Fairbanks feels like the most realistic and smartest target. He's proven, he's affordable, and he fills a massive need. If they can lock him down before the winter meetings, they can shift all their focus to landing that big bat and finalizing the roster for opening day. All right, that's the update. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Should they go after Pete Fairbanks or hold out for Edwin Diaz? What other moves do you want to see before the winter meetings? Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's go Blue Jays.